everybody and welcome back to another video. Today it is going to be my birth story with my first daughter, Luana. And if you hear some noises in the background or tooting, that's her. She's right here with me and she's crying. Okay, calm down. So she's right here, so if you hear noises or tooting, that's her. First off, before I start this video, I want to tell every mommy, every woman out there that every birth story is absolutely different and unique and special. It doesn't matter how you give birth, whether that be a home birth, a free birth, a hospital birth, a cesarean section, it doesn't matter. Every birth is special and unique, and no woman is better than the other just because she gave birth in a different way. I just want to put this out there because I think we need to encourage each other as moms and lift each other up instead of putting each other down. With these words, I want to jump right into our birth story, and as you can see in the title, it was a planned free birth, so let's jump right in. To start this story off, I will start from the night from the 18th to the 19th of August 2018. That night I had a really bad night. I couldn't really sleep well. I only slept for 2 hours from midnight till 2 a.m. Then I woke up, couldn't fall back asleep. So I decided to clean the kitchen, clean the bathrooms, reorganize the nursery, and then I went to the computer, checked out all the old videos from my pregnancy and videos from my nephew when he was first born, and I just got really excited to finally meet our little one. We had to get up early in the morning anyways because we needed to bring my sister to the train station because she was leaving us. So we got up at 7 a.m. and drove her to the train station, which is like 40 minutes away, and dropped her off. We took one last picture of me with her in the bump. Then on the way home, I had this thought coming through my head that she will be here on the 20th. I didn't know why, and since I've had false alarms quite often, I didn't even believe, and I was overdue, so I didn't even believe that she would get here any time. And I didn't share it with my husband because I didn't want to get him too excited because it was a Monday and he had to work on Mondays, so I was like, don't tell him, maybe that it doesn't even happen. So, and I did have contractions that morning. Braxton Hicks contractions, nothing painful, but I have had them for weeks, so I didn't think anything of it. So yeah, but it was unusual that they were in the morning because usually I had them in the afternoon and at night, but for some reason I didn't really think much of it. Then we went home and we had a beautiful Sunday. It was really nice outside, so we spent some time together. In the afternoon we were both really tired, so we decided to take a nap from 4 till 6 p.m. Then I woke up and had to go to the bathroom, and I was so tired. I wanted to go back to bed, but I didn't go back to bed because I wanted to be able to sleep at night, so I stayed awake, which was a big mistake, but more about that later. We had dinner, and then since I had those little contractions, I was like, okay, let's take a walk around the lake because that usually helps the contractions to pick up again. Usually they stop, but if they don't stop, hey, then we finally are in our birthing journey. So we went on a walk. I had more painful contractions. I had to stop every once in a while and breathe through them, and I had lots of pressure down in my pelvis. We came home. That didn't mean anything for us though, because that happened before, so it's like, I don't know if it's starting, I don't know. And my husband got a little bit excited and he was like, well, maybe it does start. And I'm like, just no, we'll wait. Hopefully they don't stop in 3 hours. I was like, okay, we can start to prepare a little bit, because if it does stop, then so be it. But if not, then we can just make it cozy and comfortable for us. And I did have contractions 2 to 3 minutes apart right from the start. They lasted a minute and I had to breathe through them, but I was still in a really good mood in the beginning, and I did record some videos that I will show you as well. until everything got a little more intense. Today we are 40 weeks and 4 days. I woke up this morning with contractions, but they were super mild. They happened all day, which the past 3, almost 4 weeks I have had contractions, but they always stopped. This time they did not. I had them all day, but not really regular. And so we just took a walk. And now they're more intense, and I just had my bloody show, so it looks like tonight something is gonna happen. We have 9 p.m. It's the 19th of August, so hopefully we have this baby soon. Last belly shot. So right before 10 p.m. I had a contraction and some fluids came out. And they were kind of red, so in the beginning I got scared for a little bit, but apparently that happens, a little bit of bloody like fluids when you are 5 centimeters and about 8 centimeters dilated, so that's good. I mean, it's been an hour, so I'm happy about that. The contractions are really regular, they're getting so strong now, so maybe we will have a baby tonight. It's 10 p.m. now, so we'll see. So it is it's 10:45 p.m. The contractions are getting pretty strong, so I asked my husband to put up the birthing pool, and that's what he's doing right now. So we'll see. Let's do this. Yeah, eventually I told my husband to put up some candles and make it cozy. We put this cover on the floor for the birthing pool, and in case anything got wet or bloody, that we didn't have to clean up the new floor that we just put in. And I told my husband to put up the pool and put some warm water in it. Don't worry, in the beginning it was really hot, but we cooled it down to body temperature and it was perfect, because eventually the contractions were so strong that I just wanted to go into the pool and be more comfortable, because my contractions were not like all the others that people told me, oh, you will feel them like little waves that come into your stomach and tighten your belly and then they go back again. No, that didn't happen with me. Braxton Hicks contractions felt like that, yes. The beginning of the contractions felt like it for like an hour, but then it moved right into my back, right on my or above my sacrum. Lots of pressure. It was super painful, and it was only there. I didn't feel anything in my belly. I did feel that my belly was hard when the contractions came, but I didn't feel anything in my belly. So my husband had to massage my back and rub it really hard all the time to help with the pain. The birthing pool helped a lot as well with the warm water. Lots of hours in. Then at 1:30 a.m. I had this plop sound in my belly, and since I was in the pool I thought, oh, maybe my water broke and I just can't feel it because I'm in the pool. I got a little bit excited. Later it turned out it was not the water though. It continued getting more painful, and I was more and more exhausted because I didn't sleep well the last night. So, and since my contractions started right from the beginning, 2 to 3 minutes apart, I never had this, oh, they were like 10 minutes apart or 15 minutes apart, and then I had this long break. I never had that, so it was super exhausting for me. They got more intense, and eventually I was just so tired. 3 a.m. rolled around, I was just so done. I couldn't handle it anymore. I was like, I'm so exhausted. I started shaking because I was so exhausted, and I eventually started falling asleep on the side of the pool between contractions. And remember, they were 2 to 3 minutes apart. That's how exhausted I was. They lasted a minute. I fell asleep for like a minute, woke up again from the pain and had the contraction, and then I fell asleep again. That's how exhausted I was. I was so done. I was like, this can't be happening. I'm so exhausted. I can't enjoy this at all. I can't even breathe through my contractions anymore because I'm so exhausted, and it's just so painful because I'm so tired. And that was the only point where I was like, let's go to the hospital. I can't do it anymore. But then the thought of going into the car for 15 to 20 minutes to get to the hospital was like, no way, I'm not gonna do that. So of course we didn't go, and my husband was like, you can do it, you're almost there. And then I remembered that people told me, when you're at the point where you're like totally done and you think you can't handle it anymore, that's when transitioning is happening, and usually that means your baby is here soon. So I got a little excited when I thought about that. I was like, okay, that means baby's here soon. You can do this, you can do this. Between 2 or 3 a.m. or something, I noticed stuff is not happening. I'm super exhausted. And then I picked up the book FreeBirth by Schmid. And there is a page where you can read when the baby's not in the right position, what helps during contractions to put the baby in the right birthing position. And I noticed that she was not in the perfect position when I touched my belly. So I decided to go with the laying on the side, and I laid on my bed and on the side. When contraction came, I was like, holy cow, that was painful. The second one rolled around and I'm like, no, I can't do this. I cannot lay down like this, not being in the pool. Let's try another one. So I went on all four and tried this position. 1 contraction, 2 contractions. I was like, no, holy moly, I can't do this. I need to go back into the pool. So I touched my belly again to see what position she's in, and she was in the perfect position at that point. I was like, yes, it helped already. She's in the better position. Let's go back into the pool and let's do this. At 4:17, I decided to go to the bathroom. So I have had contractions for over 7 hours now, 2 to 3 minutes apart. I decided to go to the bathroom. And then when I wiped, the mucus plug came. I was like, now the mucus plug is coming out that late? That means I'm barely opening. I was so frustrated at that point. I was like, this can't be happening. I've had contractions so close together and for so long. I went back into the tub and I was a little discouraged, but then the contractions were just at this point so painful that I couldn't really handle them anymore. Then I was like, I had the urge again to go to the bathroom, so I was like, okay, let's go again. So I went back to the bathroom at 4:30 and I had the urge to check myself down there and see if I could feel the head or anything. So I checked, there was no head, but this huge balloon of water was coming my way. And I was like, holy cow, the water didn't break and it's still totally intact and it's not breaking, and there's so much pressure on it. There is so much pressure. And the first thought was to just break my water, but then I was scared and I didn't want to do it. And then my mom's voice popped into my head. She had 4 children and she told me with all 4 of the children they had to break her water because the sac was just so strong that it didn't break by itself. And as soon as they broke it for her, the babies came right after and she was done. So that encouraged me to break my own water. So I kind of scratched it with my fingernail and then it plopped into my hand, and that was a good way because then I could check the amniotic fluid. It was see-through and a little bit of yellow, but nothing green or anything, so that was good. And I was really happy. I was like, oh yes, and then I had another contraction, and the contractions was nothing compared to the ones before. It was almost like, holy moly, this is nothing. I can do this now. This is so easy, because all the pressure in my back and in my pelvis was gone. It was awesome. So I went back into the pool. At 4:45, I noticed that my contractions changed and I felt this pressure and this urge to push. So it was like, yes, we are in the final stretch, honey. Turn on the camera. This is the last final stretch. She's almost here. We started pushing. I had the urge to push, and these contractions were farther apart. I think they were like 5-6 minutes apart, because every time in between I was like, okay, why is it taking so long for the next contractions to come? That's why it probably took an hour, but it felt forever for me. So I started pushing, and that was the most amazing feeling because I felt how she was helping with the pushing. I could feel every time the contractions came that she was pressing and pushing down with her head, and that she was stretching her legs to help push down. And that was an amazing feeling, to feel her work with me and help with the birth. Every time I did feel some burning sensation down there, I would stop pushing, and I would tell her, honey, stop pushing. Mommy's tearing down there. Stop pushing. Mommy's hurting. And she would stop immediately. It was the most amazing thing. She would stop right away, and then we waited for the next contraction, and then we would start working again, both of us. And then at 5:45, I felt this plop down there, and her head was here. and I was going up a little, I was like squatting down. So I went up a little bit and asked my husband, is she facing forward? And he was like, no, she's not. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. But that's kind of weird because usually babies that face forward, that's when women have pressure in the bag, which I did, but she was in the right position. And then I moved back into the squatting position into the pool, and then I could feel her turn and twist, and she was out into the pool. She was born in the water, and I was lifting her up to my chest, and then I noticed that I couldn't lift her up all the way that I wanted because the umbilical cord was really tight and it was touching my lady parts, and it burned like crazy, so I had to move her down a little bit again. So she was half in the water. So we put some towels around her, and the water was not as warm anymore because it took so long. Then I was moving her to my chest. She was not crying, she was just looking at me, she was looking at my husband, eyes wide open, and then my husband and I started bawling our eyes out. We were so happy, and our hearts started healing immediately. It was the best experience ever. And then she cried 3 times, and then she was looking right for the breast. She was like, oh, give me some milk, give me some milk. So I breastfed her for the very first time in the pool. It was just so amazing and so healing, and the best feeling to meet her for the very first time, to look at her, to see her. It's just amazing. After half an hour, she started shivering like crazy though, and I was like, okay, let's move over to our bed so she can be warm again. My husband helped me out of the pool. I was holding her, and as soon as I stepped over the pool, my placenta came out and landed on the floor, and it almost ripped my baby out of my arms. And I was like, holy, what was that? And then I saw what happened because her umbilical cord was extremely short. So that's why the placenta almost ripped the baby out of my arms, and that's why I couldn't get her up into my chest more. So my husband put a bowl down there. I put the placenta in the bowl, and then I noticed that I was feeling lightheaded. Everything turned black in front of my eyes because blood was running down my legs. And I was like, honey, take the baby. I need to lay down. So I laid down on the floor right next to the pool. He took the baby, and that was the first time he was really scared because he didn't know what was happening, and he saw all the blood, and he was like, what do I need to do if you black out? And I was like, well, then you have plan B. You call the ambulance, and then we have to go to the hospital. But that won't happen because as soon as I laid down, I felt much better. So then I told him, I was like, well, I need the baby. I need her to nurse so that the bleeding will stop. And then he wanted to give me the baby, but the placenta was in the bowl, and the bowl was so close to the baby because of the short umbilical cord that there was no way that I could nurse her. That was just so, it was not great. So we're like, okay, well then we need to cut the umbilical cord, even though we wanted to wait some hours, but there was no way, and I needed to stop the bleeding. So my husband cut the umbilical cord right in the middle, and it was white already, so there was no big deal, but I just wanted to leave it on a little longer. So, oh well. Then yeah, and then he helped me onto the bed, and I breastfed my little one, and then he got like a frozen veggie bag and put it on my belly, and as soon as I nursed her, the bleeding stopped immediately, and I was fine, and I was like, see, told you the bleeding would stop, and everything is okay. And then we just laid in bed, and we cuddled and snuggled and adored our little rainbow baby. It was so amazing, and I was so exhausted, but I just couldn't fall asleep. I just needed to stare at her and adore her, and I was on cloud 9. We told our families that she was here, and we weighed her and everything, and then I finally was so tired that I just fell asleep with her in my arms, and she fell asleep as well, and it was just the most amazing time. The next 2 days I still felt really lightheaded when I went to the bathroom or got up from bed, that I was just really dizzy, and every time someone needed to hold me so I would not drop down on the floor. But after 2 days that was much better. After I got some rest and slept a little more, I was feeling much better. I was really swollen down there, So I didn't feel any burning when I went to the bathroom. Like people told me, oh, you will have some burning in the beginning. I did not. But after like 3 days, I started, when the swelling went back down, I did notice that I was feeling some pain down there. And it was so painful. I couldn't sit down. I couldn't stand up. I couldn't walk. I was like I was so sick every time I felt that pain. It was so intense. I was like, what is this? So after I cleaned myself, I checked myself and something was hanging down. I was like, this doesn't look right. So I checked closer and I saw that one of my labias, I think that's what you call it, totally ripped off. And I was like, holy moly, this doesn't look good. So I called one of the midwives that is friends with me. She lives really far away though. So I called her and asked her what I should do. And that it was so painful and I just couldn't handle it anymore. And she told me to go to the hospital and ask if they could maybe stitch it up. Then I wouldn't feel that much pain anymore. So we did go after 5 days. We did go to the hospital. Of course, weird looks. And they're like, what did you do? You birthed alone with no midwife and no doctor? This is weird. Why didn't you just come to the hospital? And I was just like, because I didn't want to, but that's not the point. Yeah, even the doctor was, he was, I don't know, I didn't like him. Anyways, he was like ripping everything out down there and it was like looking. I was like, oh, this is totally ripped off. And I was like, well, yeah, and you were trying to rip it off even more. This is painful, what you're doing. He did an ultrasound, a vaginal ultrasound with this gel. It burned like crazy. I was like, why do you have to do an ultrasound? Like, I didn't want you to check my uterus. I want you to check my lady parts. And then he was like, well, if we do want to stitch it up, I have to clean it and you have to go in an anesthesia. And this is this whole big operation, but then I have to cut even more, which means that you might not be able to feel anything anymore when you have sex. So, and then I could stitch it up, but then you cannot breastfeed your baby for a couple of days and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, this is not going to happen. I'm not going to go in for an operation. I want to breastfeed my baby, and I'm young. I want to have fun with my husband still. So I'm like, nope, I'm not going to do that. And he's like, well, then you just need some weeks to heal it, and hopefully it will work out, but it will never look like it looked before. Just letting you know. And I was like, well, yeah, thank you. He was so weird. I didn't like him. Anyways, and then, so I went back home. He told me to take painkillers because this is so painful. And he's like, he was surprised that I made it 5 days without painkillers. I took one pill once, but I let it heal naturally. And we are 3 weeks in, and you can tell I can finally sit again. I can finally walk again. I still cannot carry anything really heavy. And I have to tell you, it healed super well, and it does look like it looked before. So it totally healed back up. I never thought that was possible, but it is. It does look like before. There's still a little bit of a part that is still open and not healed yet, but that will continue to heal. But it doesn't, nothing is hanging down anymore, and it just looks really good. But more about my postpartum, I will do another postpartum update about everything I went through, because I had so much more going on postpartum that was not fun. That's why it took me so long to do the birth story. But more about that in another video that will hopefully come soon, and when this little lady lets me do some videos. I'm glad she's cooperating today. So yeah, that was our birth story, our free birth, our planned free birth. We did lots of research before, we read lots of books, and I was in contact with other mothers that had free birth before. So I was really good informed, and I'm really happy we went this route. Even my husband was like, I'm so glad we did it this way, and we will totally do it again. But like I mentioned, this is not for everyone, and that's totally fine. Hi. We have a really relaxed baby, and it was just really cozy and special for us and really healing. So yeah, this is our birth story. How this little girl came into the world. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in my next video, my hopefully postpartum update. And see you guys soon. Bye bye.